And with me, the Chief Minister of the Isle of Man. After a very successful evening at the Excellence Awards, where you did your it was presidential sort of speech to the nation, you do have a bit of a pop though. You still call them, what do you call them, unruly neighbours or something like that in the UK?
Well, they are noisy neighbours at times, I think it's fair to say. You know, we hear a fair amount of criticism from various elements in the United Kingdom, but our relationships are improving. You know, and the grounds for criticism are reducing all the time, and therefore I think that element is possibly disappearing into the distance.
Because you have used that event in the past, and you have been quite much stronger in. Yes. I think it was the health agreement year was particularly a tricky year, wasn't it, with the arrangements?
We've had difficult relationships with the United Kingdom government on and off for a long period, and I'm sure there will be other pinch points in the future where we have similar challenges. But just for the moment, I think they are struggling to find grounds to criticise the Isle of Man, because in many areas we are actually ahead of the United Kingdom itself in openness and transparency, and once and for all, thanks to Mr Cameron claiming that we should no longer be considered a tax haven, we are shedding the secrecy label which some people like to attach to us. So I think we're in a stronger position with the UK than we have been for quite some time.
Well, it's all happening in Jakarta at the minute, and you look quite excited, actually, I have to say, this morning, a big smile on your face, because the OECD, of all people, who'd have ever thought, say that we've got a top rating.
Yes, I think this is, perhaps to a lot of people, they may not appreciate the importance of this, but 15 years ago, the Isle of Man was on the OECD blacklist of non-cooperative jurisdictions in terms of tax information agreements and transparency. We have worked hard through and with the OECD for that period, and this morning they have finally announced the results of what they call a peer review of all jurisdictions associated with the OECD as to whether in fact we are compliant or non-compliant with international standards of cooperation on the implementation of tax information agreements. The Isle of Man, I'm pleased to say, has come out top. We're in the top 18 of the 50 countries already assessed as being fully compliant with international standards. Countries like Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, Jersey, Guernsey even, are only partially compliant. So we're ahead of all these at the moment, and once and for all it gives us absolutely categoric independent evidence to counter any of the criticisms we might get in future about being a secrecy jurisdiction.
And if anyone wants to work through this fantastic flowchart listing, and it's a blow-by-blow account, I mean, everyone's pretty well passing most hurdles, although there's a few red ones in Austria, strangely. But where do we go from here? I mean, is everything perfect now, or is there still more ground to be done?
No, I think we are absolutely up to speed now with the international agenda. We have been deemed compliant by the OECD. We've had fulsome praise from Mr Cameron as no longer being a tax haven. We have yesterday been the first Crown dependency to sign up to the OECD Multilateral Convention on Tax Information Exchange.
Well, and what is that exactly? Because again, you've released a press release on that to say that we've signed it. But again, the UK signed it on our behalf, right?
Yes, we have signed, I think it's now well over 40 tax information exchange agreements with various countries around the world. But we have been consistently criticised for not signing these agreements with developing countries, particularly Africa and other similar sort of areas, perhaps in Asia. The problem we've had in the past is we haven't had a structure whereby we could actually negotiate with these developing countries, because clearly many of these countries don't have fully developed administrations in the same way developed countries do. That has led to a lot of criticism, particularly from the NGOs, the non-governmental organisations, Christian Aid, etc. The OECD now, through this convention, have put together a model which will enable us to sign future agreements. Now, I gave a commitment to that agreement in June when we met at the pre-G8 meeting with Mr Cameron. And yesterday, the UK signed that agreement on our behalf. We are the first Crown dependency to do it, and we are leading the way once again on tax cooperation. The one thing to remember about this, though, is this is an OECD agreement, and their constitution does not allow non-sovereign countries to sign these agreements. So we've had in this instance to ask the UK to sign on our behalf, but we will in future always be signing these agreements.
Okay, well, we'll get that more about this as going on, but 75 countries cooperating basically on tax matters it comes down to.
Yes, and by opening this door for us now, this leaves it open for us to negotiate a further 38 agreements, which puts us, or will put us, well ahead of most other countries in terms of these agreements. And again, it sets us in a very different place, a very strong place to defend ourselves from any criticism from anywhere in the world, frankly.